Today we're going to talk about our waking dreams, the power that they have over our destinies, and of course the healing from that trauma. When I was a teenager, I met a young girl named Abby Summers, and we became friends. One day she asked me what I thought world peace would look like. We talked about that for perhaps an hour. She said if you teach the children of today to laugh, they can teach the children of tomorrow to laugh. I was a rather depressed child, and when we were done, decided that this was a good coping mechanism to look at life with hope. So everywhere I went for the next 20 years, I looked at life through the lens of how could we do to make this better. You meet a lot of various ethnicities and cultures in the military, in my opinion, the best part of it. Some of them you may not even be able to share a sentence with, but when you immerse yourself into their environment, you see they're still people. Even when you can't share a sentence with them, you can share a meal, and that's good enough. On my first tour in Iraq, there was this Haji stand next to the dining facility. It was a general store type thing where you could buy various odds and ends, plus a hot grill where, according to the menu, he cooked American food. I didn't want American food cooked by an Iraqi. I wanted Iraqi food. My man, can you make me some Iraqi food? What? Can you make me what you eat? You want my food? No, I want you to make me what you eat, on a daily basis. You want to eat what I eat? Yes. You got it, my man. 15 minutes. 15 minutes later, he slaps a plate down on the table, forcefully taps the counter. Ding, ding, ding. There you go. That's what I eat every day, my man. Thank you. Thank you for my freedom. That'll be $15. What I got out of a haphazard oven of an instant meal of soggy and yet somehow burnt dino nuggets, mushy mac and cheese, burnt tater tots, and green beans, which were the best part. I ate that crow as much as I could stomach, which tasted like cardboard. Another time there was a Paladin and howitzer launching 155 shells, and that looked pretty fun. I got to know some of the Arctic crew, and eventually they asked me if I wanted to do a fire mission. Well, yeah, I'm 25 years old. Of course I want to fire a giant gun. I always had a heart for the soldiers that hurt, and when they come back, I thought, maybe if I got a little wee bit of that on me, I may understand their plight more, and maybe one day find out a way to help them. I would ask some of the other soldiers about their experience as if I were a journalist. Maybe I could understand what I could not experience. Kenny tells me about this one time another soldier gets sandwiched by a Bradley that slipped into gear, pinched between the wedge of one and the flat door of another. He starts laughing. I'm just looking at the ground. He continues, one of his friends comes up screaming, hey, you know that movie? Old School? You're my boy Blue? Yeah, just like that. I look up and he is still laughing, hysterically now. Kenny's head is beet red with veins popping out of his skull, but the look of his eyes was horror and fear. Yet another time, I was returning a broken USB drive to a Haji vendor of a different tent. It wouldn't transfer any data, so I went to swap it out. I spent $9 to make $1 on this $10 piece of crap that I can't return here because it came from Pakistan on a camel. Here, and he hands me a drive replacement. Just then I see a child, we'll call Welladoon, of perhaps 4 years old, come out from behind another counter with a look of abject fear on his face. Maybe Welladoon was thinking, are you going to kill my daddy? Or maybe it was, is my belly going to be empty tonight? To me, it wasn't about the money. I tried to hand them a 20 to assuage my guilt, but the Haji was too proud to take it. I don't know what Welladoon was thinking, but I know that look, and we're not so different after all. I came home from Iraq with cancer, gout, arthritis, lots of paperwork for failing PT standards, and a few years later a DD-214. Fowler asked me one day, Penny, for your thoughts? I didn't need paperwork. I didn't need the pills. I needed physical therapy to learn how to cope with a body that suddenly began hurting everywhere. I feel betrayed by a God who I thought loved me. What are you going to do now? I'm going to go home and I'm going to grow food. I figure this world is one big economy where one country exploits another poor one to grow food so they can have it for cheap. If I grow the food out of my own ground, that's not food coming out of some child's mouth over there. So I did. I bought about 4 acres of a sand pit in Clyde, Texas, where I learned how to amend soil to some degree, successfully grow a small garden. One of the best feelings you can get is when you have too much food and you give it to your neighbors. It says to their soul, I got you. And you can see that in their eyes when they believe it. Thank you, Austin and Tabitha. My arthritis was continuing to get out of hand. When I couldn't walk without a cane anymore, I grabbed a book and started reading about how to make this job easier. I saw how successful aquaponics had become, and that was the route I chose. I asked myself, what do you do when the fish food runs out? I happened across one of the aquariums that are self-sustaining book by Diana Wallstad. A section in there asked, "What do you feed your tanks when you want to feed it?" I just throw my leftover sandwich in there. That's when everything changed. In a healthy ecosystem, every tropic level of biology is occupied, and one hand washes the other. I realized that we could be throwing biodegradable trash in. Several images of a new world almost painfully erupted into my mind as I'm screaming, "Oh my God!" I saw an ecosystem of nature and mankind living symbiotically. Now close your eyes and dream my dream with me. I saw theme parks of twisty, mossy slides cleaning the atmosphere of water and pollutants, with snails keeping the moss in check. I saw center pivots coming out of ponds full of sewage as they scatter that nutrient water over grain for livestock. I saw ponds with garbage supplying vegetables for anyone willing to pick it, growing at nearly 100% autonomy. I saw beneficial insects hatch from the water to control mosquitoes. This pest control is no urban myth. I saw elderly who could no longer work, more than happy to hand out food to the people, with more tenacity than a Walmart sticker roll at a daycare. We've all seen that person, and bless their heart for wanting to put a smile on a child's face. I'm not through, so keep dreaming. I saw prisoners learning a new vocation as they learn to be a productive member of society, where we don't have to hustle to make their bread when they get out, where they can, on the job train, learn to be a mason, a welder, engineer, plumber, chemist, biologist, automation specialist, maintenance tech, programmer, and more. Given that we pay money for sewage and garbage removal, I saw food as a byproduct of the responsibility of cleaning up after ourselves. The cost of that food subsidized by the very garbage that we throw into the ground. I saw meat and vegetable prices plummet. I saw families being able to subsist without having to pay a good-paying job where they could take time off to pursue another better-paying career without the fear of going hungry. I saw a world where inventors were paid a bounty for their discoveries by a union of governments as an incentive to continue research, where they could benefit all of mankind rather than hiding their technology behind fees, patents, and lawyers. I saw all of this over the course of 10 seconds like a fuzzy projector in my mind, and I begged for the images to come back. I prayed, "Father, give me the wisdom to build a system for a man whose only wealth is that of a junkyard, the ability to feed his family." I saw more that's harder still to describe, but it was all beautiful. I saw a small tweak of our agricultural process work like a catalyst to launch mankind into the next golden age. I saw this was only possible if it were a function of a municipality rather than lining some corporation's pockets. In this world, where mankind can live symbiotically with nature and entirely within its loop at a microcosm, I saw a spaceship whose cosmic radioactive shielding also provided the oxygen, food, waste disposal, gravity, all generated via a recirculating loop and pyramid steps. We currently have the technology for long voyage space travel to physically visit other planets and moons. We just need NASA to rope us an ice comet and asteroids. Mankind could have several missions that unite us into peace and harmony. After several filtration designs, when I realized I had that one, I saw that kid's face in Iraq. Why am I seeing this? And why does it hurt to see it? I'd forgotten his face. I'd forgotten the mission Ab sent me on to find world peace. I'd forgotten the child I once was, and many other things that time and pain of life had buried. None of them were so great it was difficult to get over once I realized I needed to simply forgive myself for them. But there were many. For me, once one suppressed memory came back like a cork pulled from a bottle of champagne, they came back in a flood. I had much weeping and gnashing of teeth, and there is no dam that can cancel this flood. You just have to ride it out, but I promise the end is worth it. I didn't have a terrible life. Just got good at having repressed memories. I didn't even think it was possible until I found out otherwise. It's not just soldiers, of course, but people who need this medicine far more than I did. Acts 10:15 says to call nothing unclean. Not the Jew, the Gentile, not the food, not anything. Because it was all put here for good. Mushrooms changed my life in so many ways, suicide and depression being the least of these. So why are Christians opposed to legalizing ancestral healing medicine? Is it because you were manipulated into believing that these were drugs so the pharmaceutical companies could corner the market on their less effective synthetics? Would the pharmaceutical companies Really exploit the vulnerabilities of people's mental health for profit, just like they did with the opiate epidemic? Can people abuse mushrooms to the point that they're a party? Sure. Can they be used as a medicine? Absolutely. If you abuse mushrooms, they will end up demanding your respect. How you decide to use them is up to the individual. You might even call it growth or maturity, because they teach you that. I saw a world that was healed of its pain. A government job is a good paying job, just like police officer, fireman, sanitation worker, post office, military, which are all socialist programs. Socialism is not communism, which many Americans have been brainwashed to believe because they want to keep us fighting each other. An uneducated populace is easy to manipulate, so stop letting them do that to you. I don't know about you, but between global warming, politics, and wars, it's been feeling like we're living inside of a dark Douglas Adams version of the apocalypse. So take my dreams and begin dreaming with your own world. Maybe one day soon we will find it. Our children deserve to have dreams too.